Hi, this is Justyna Redelkiewicz, and you are listening to my podcast Go Crazy, Go Cosmic, where we speak about startups, investments, and reaching for the stars. In today's episode, I would like to tackle a very important problem of pricing. In my mentoring and training sessions, many startups come to me and say that they don't know how to price their first product. And this is understandable because they have been developing the product or solution for many years, a lot of R&D spending, some grants, some public contracts. And at the end, it's very difficult to estimate what was the actual cost and how much they can charge for the product or solution. Another issue is that the products are usually very innovative, and so they simply don't exist in the market yet. So it's very difficult to do a proper market analysis and market assessment. So in today's episode, I would like to explain you the three main approaches on how we can tackle the problem of pricing. And at the end, I will explain you a little bit more also how to combine the three approaches. So the first approach, the most common on early stages, is the cost-based pricing. So in this approach, we calculate how much does it cost us to produce our product, and we simply put some percentage on top of it. So if to produce our product costs 100 and we want to add 40% margin, our price will be simply 140% of our cost. This markup pricing is very popular. However, it is also a bit tricky because if we take an example of a GNSS chipset, to produce it for the first time from scratch, it may cost millions of euro. But when we produce it later in mass production, we produce millions of units, we can offer a price per unit of a few euro. So you see that in that case, a cost-based pricing is a bit tricky. But this is a good starting point. And we just need to remember that we have to take into account this economy of scale. So maybe we need to charge for the product a little bit more today. And then with the economy of scale, when we reach the mass production, we will be able to lower the price. The second approach is the market-based pricing. So in this approach, we look at our competition. And in many cases, startups tell me we have no competition, but in most of the cases, this is not true. We believe we have no competition, but there is always some competition. Maybe not direct one, but indirect one. Because if the problem in the market exists, it also means that somebody somehow is at least partially solving the problem. And we need to find those companies and those products that solve the same type of problem and compare our pricing with them. Let's take an example again. So if we look at the producers of QKD, quantum key distribution, this is a very innovative approach. It's not yet really sold that much in the market. So we need to compare our pricing with the competition. But in that case, we don't compare only with QKD providers, but we compare with post-quantum cryptography solutions, with even traditional cryptography solutions, because in the end, we address the same problem. So we have to think wider and really investigate all the possible options on how our potential customer may fulfill their need. And this is how we can establish the market price. In some cases, it is much easier. For example, if we have ICEYE and Capella both delivering SAR imagery, they can, of course, I'm sure they compare prices with each other, but we can also use some marketplaces or some places where we can actually have information on the price, because in B2B model, it's of course difficult to understand exactly how much our competition is pricing, but there are ways to get this information. And the third level of how we can establish the price is the value-based pricing. And this is actually my favorite model. It's maybe the most difficult to calculate, but it reflects the real value that we give to the customers. So in practice, what it means, if we produce a solution, offer a solution that is detecting methane leakages in oil pipelines, I read somewhere that this kind of methane leakage can cost an energy company up to 80,000 euro per week. And so this is the value that we are generating. If we detect this leakage, we are saving for them 80,000 euro. So we are impacting directly the cost side of our customer, and this is the value we provide to them. And you see this value is totally detached from what is our cost, how we deliver this solution, and what our competition is doing. This is the real value for our customer. And to understand this value is really critical for our long-term business. Sometimes, instead of impacting the cost, so instead of offering cost savings for our customers, we impact the revenue side. So, for example, if we offer some marketplace, we charge our customers to feature product in our marketplace, but thanks to us, they can sell many more products. So the value for them is the sales that they generate in our platform. And again, this is totally detached of the cost of development of the platform. So you see that if you are able to calculate these different approaches and try to find some sweet spot between them, this is the best. So in the ideal case, we charge the maximum value of how much we bring to the customer. This value ideally covers our cost with some good margin, and ideally we are the best value for money compared with our competitors. There's maybe one more thing I want to say about pricing models, because in deep tech and space, very often our customer is the public sector. It can be the local government, national government, or organizations such as European Commission or ESA. And in that case, to price our product, it's maybe a bit more tricky. We don't use the typical models of cost, market, and value. We use the same order of magnitude, but normally we have to adjust to the tender value, to the let's say, financial capacity of our public sector customer. And again, the value that we create is usually not for the customer, but is for the society. So if we participate in tenders, for example, that develop dual-use solutions or sustainability solutions, these are the externalities that really create the value. But this value will be mostly for the society, for the economy, and not for the government itself. So take into account also the shift of who pays and who actually gets the value, because this is important in your pricing decisions. I wish you a lot of success with your pricing strategies. If I missed something important, let me know in comments. I would be happy to record more content for you. And all the best from my side, and see you soon in the channel.